Listen, you're in a privileged position to learn a thing or two. Keep your mouth shut and your eyes open.
I'm gonna bark all day, little doggy. Or you gonna bite?
I'm your huckleberry.
Say when.
Hey, welcome to episode 5 of The Raft. I'm LJ.
I'm KB. So our guest today is none other than...
Hey, it's me. It's JX.
Welcome to the show, bro.
Glad to be here, man.
We're stoked to have you. We had that kerfluffle on the episode that was supposed to be our first interview. I appreciate you being understanding, and I appreciate you giving us another chance to interview you, because we were really looking forward to that interview. So we're so happy to have you here. All right. I want to start with something a little less MCOC, just because I've been wondering. So you're going to school and you're creating media, you're doing a lot of the graphic stuff. What are you going to school for, and what made you want to go down that path?
Okay, I love this. No one asked me this. Okay, so I'm going to school for graphic design. So I'm going BFA, so bachelor's in design, specifically graphic design. And it's just taking a lot of graphic design courses. I'm working on my internship. I graduate next semester, so I'm graduating early, which is pretty awesome. What got me into it? Honestly, I've been doing graphic design since middle school. We had a graphic design middle school class. It was totally underfunded, so we basically did nothing but make one T-shirt, write blogs. It was horribly out of date. But, you know, I've been doing YouTube since like 2015. So I was always like, I want to make the best designs. I want to make the best videos, the thumbnails. I want to have the best logo. And that really pushed me to outside of school to do what I love, have a passion for it. That's probably the most influence in that. And I've always liked art, from comic books to posters to, you know, video, cinematography. It's just always been a part of me. And so I was like, I got to get into graphic design because I've never had more fun.
Nice. Do you like own pretty much the process from start to finish? Like you said, you're making your own thumbnails and everything. Your own, like, you got the interface. You're literally making every bit, I guess every phase. I don't know what the proper term is. You're the professional.
Yeah, no, I pretty much do everything. I make the thumbnail with Photoshop. I do everything in Photoshop. So I'll make templates, and once I make those templates, they're easy to fix. Like, you'll see my predictions. All I got to do is go in there and put the right character PNGs in, click it red or green if I got it right or wrong, and I'm done. And
Nice.
so it's really nice.
That's awesome, bro.
Yeah, if any of you guys on Twitter or on Instagram saw that greetings from the raft, that little infographic, we did use it for announcing JX, but we also reused more of a blank template for Rob from Comics Explained that we just had on. I do a lot of the infographics for our show, but I didn't do that one. JX did. So we appreciate that, and thank you, because it really came out cool.
Yeah. The Marvel Realm Champions, they had the raft, and I was talking to you when you were like, "Oh, do you have any ideas about like a design for the show?" And I was like, I want to do something for you guys and incorporate like the actual raft from Marvel, because it's so cool and tied to your own podcast. And yeah, I made that art. I actually printed it out. I can show you guys in just a bit. I did like some photography, so I did like a contact print, so it's black and white, and it looks just really cool.
Damn, thank you, bro. That's cool. So speaking of your templates, you did mention your predictions there, MCOC Nostradamus. Is there a method to your madness? Like, how do you...
Yeah, there's a
You work
method to
your
my
magic.
madness. Yeah, I get asked this a lot. They're like, how, like, I got so many questions, like, how are you just like getting this? Like, there's no way. You're a prophet. You work for Kabam. Like, guys, come on. I pay attention. You know, a lot of it with Kabam is you got to pay attention to how they do things. They're going to do MCU events. We always know they've been doing this since the beginning of the game. So, you know, predictions for like that. Cassie Lang, like, that was such an easy one to predict. I look at their roadmaps, like for sure they showed future Ant-Man. Everyone's like, no way they're doing him. But I was like, they showed him for a reason, and we got him. So yeah, I look at the roadmap. I look at the State of the Battle Realm map, which has many mystery spots where future champions will be put on that map. I look at the mystery synergies, like Cassie Lang. She has a sick kick synergy, so hey, that could be like Viv Vision, someone who actually kicks and wears nice shoes. So kind of like that. I'll look for different patterns and try to make sense of it.
The thing is about you, JX, that everyone in our community loves is you have a deep love, appreciation, and knowledge for the actual comic characters. So you're connecting dots. You could give that same formula to a million people that play this game, and no one's going to end up down the same road that you end up. KB's pointing at himself right now. Yeah, and I'm when it comes to Marvel, I like to think that I'm about nerd level 5. But I wouldn't have connected some of these dots, just to be honest with you. So I think it's a lot of work, but it's also a lot of talent too.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, being in here with you two, it is a little intimidating because you guys, LJ hits me with stuff every day. He's like, bro, check out this. He's like sending me all these comics and stuff. And then we got the GOAT JX here. And I'm like, oh man, I'm probably going to show my ignorance in this show.
Start reading.
KB, and we got another guy in our, I always say we got another guy in our alliance named Detailed Panic, and he's super into the comics. And so every time I send something to KB, I usually send something to Detailed too. And we'll get into that. But while we're on this topic of predictions and theory crafting, I did want to jump into something fun here before we get too down the rabbit hole and I completely forget about it. So we've got Apocalypse and we've got Gallon. And I don't have a name for those types of characters that basically buff an entire class, but we started calling them the Godfather characters. That's Cosmic and Mutant. But we've still got Skill, Science, Tech, and Mystic. And I'm wondering if you have any opinion on who you think maybe some of these next Godfather characters are, because they're building a pattern. We've got APOC, we've got Gallon. They're not going to leave those other classes off the board. Someday they're maybe not this year, but someday they're going to drop some Godfather character for each class that buffs a whole class. My opinion, maybe just what I'd like to see. But for Mystic, I got Chthon. For Skill, I went with either Wenwu or maybe Stick. Science, I thought Molecule Man was a good one. If there's anyone that could buff an entire class based on just his presence, I figured Molecule Man is a dead ringer for that. And then for Tech, maybe it's just wishful thinking, but I put new playable Kang. Because if anybody could buff the Tech class, it would be the guy who's got all knowledge. You know what I mean? But those were just some ideas. Do you have any on that topic that come to mind?
Yeah, I thought about this too. Like, I think you're absolutely right. They started making a pattern of doing these pre-fight characters that buff others. Like Apocalypse, he's got his horsemen. Gallon, our Kabam original Galactus, he has his heralds. You're kind of spot on of what I was thinking too. I think other characters I could do that is people. I try to think of people in the comics who do that, right? Like who is someone who buffs his teammates or buffs his associates or anything like that. I thought about like High Evolutionary. If he's coming to the game in May, he's someone who is such scientific in one extent. Like he did that to Rocket, right? We're gonna figure that out in the MCU. So I'm assuming he could either, if he works in the tech or science class, I think he could be one of those type of people who buffs that entire class. Mystic Chthon, I like that one. I feel like Sidorak with Juggernaut, like that, kind of how he does to Juggernaut, he could do anyone to the Mystic class, but I like the Chthon one better. He's way more powerful. Man, I don't know. You got some good ones, I gotta say.
You've got them for everything but skill.
Skill, yeah. Skill is hard.
See, I like Wenwu for skill, the Mandarin, whatever you want to call him. But I was just thinking somebody who could buff an entire class, and I was thinking it would be so fun to have Stick on there.
Yeah, Stick's cool. Wenwu as well. Wenwu used to be my predictions. I took him off, but I want him to come to the game. Wenwu or the Mandarin, whatever comic or MCU. Stick as well is such a person tied to Daredevil, and him teaching Daredevil, like him being his mentor, is really cool. And he was in the Con Champions comic books too. So any excuse we can have someone who was in that comic book, like Blue Marvel, right? Like he was in that comic book, and we need him in game, right? Like I think any characters you have that basically the comic is kind of based on the game, but for the for the 616 comics. So yeah, Stick and when we both make sense in my opinion. I like it.
So you are a CCP member.
Yes, sir.
Have you dabbled with the new Spider-Man buff yet?
I haven't. It kind of. I was hoping it was a lot better. I really was hoping for that. I think there was something wrong the first day, so the numbers are off. So I think they fixed that, and I just haven't gone into it. Yeah, I was really hoping it'd be a huge buff for like probably the arguably the most iconic character in Marvel.
And he's
But
not even getting new animations, right? He just has
mhm.
like a visual update and then what looked like I haven't dove too deep into it, but watching people's like glimpses of videos, it looks like there's a lot going on. I see all kinds of red debuffs up there, webbing and taunts and all kinds of shit. And I'm like, man, this seems like a lot.
Yeah, I think it's simple to play as him. Like he does have a lot of debuffs. I think Slayer Gods, he did like a really nice, like huge long image of what he liked, what he didn't like. Because he didn't want to be like kind of telling the community, oh, this is garbage, right? Because I feel like a lot of like the community will take if someone says it's garbage, then there's like this mob mentality. So they're trying to be really constructive, and it's subject to change, which I think is kind of nice. Is that within the CCP? I mean, I wish everyone could play it and give their all feedback, but we have maybe I think with Hulk coming out probably in March and Spider-Man in April, there's time to change it. So the more criticism we give to Kabam, the more they're going to take it and actually hopefully apply it to make them better.
Right. Especially somebody like Slays Gods, who has such a like a cult following, you know. So
Yeah,
that's cool that he did that. Like highlighted everything about it, the good and the bad.
yeah, that's the way to do it.
It's always so silly to me when you see the comment section on YouTube and it's like, well, just quit playing the game then. Guys, this is not how things get fixed. And unfortunately, things can get out of hand really quick and negativity can spiral with the community also. So there's two sides of that coin. You don't want to get caught up in just negative hurricane, but or go on some kabam witch hunt. But at the same time, closed mouths don't get fed. If nobody says anything about anything, then nothing ever gets fixed either. I mean, a lot of the times, Kabam's the last one to know that they have bugs. So when there's a new update like there is right now, you got to be able to speak up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Doing it constructively though is I think right way because I personally am not the greatest at that, and I will admit it. I'll own it. I am one of those that I start complaining and it's just a downward spiral, bro, and then I hate everything and I got to step away for a second and then I'm addicted to the game, so I come right back and then I get
Yeah.
pissed off again. I'm like, all right, slow down. So, like you said, if we speak up but do it constructively, and it actually has an impact and people might pay attention rather than like I know when I start complaining and bitching, people just tune out. They're like, this guy again. So so yeah, constructive criticism is nice. Always welcomed.
Okay, so you're the captain of predictions, but I did want to ask you on just a fun note. I mean, while we're talking about buffs and stuff like that, if there was a trophy champion that you would want reworked, which trophy champion would that be?
Immortal Iron Fist. Like I absolutely for someone for I think he is the rarest trophy champ in the game as of right now, just because you only get him from that Sig Crystal, which I don't even have him, which I think is kind of BS because I need him. But Iron Fist is one of my favorite characters from reading comics as a kid, and I was like I still want him. Like I have pretty much every other trophy champ besides Weapon Flex, but he's so good that you know But yeah, he'd be my number one.
Weapon flex. I like that. We had a guy in our in the main part, our main alliance. His name is LJ, also LJ Corvus Glaive. He pulled a 6-star Immortal Iron Fist. I was like, dude, that's incredible. Because I also don't have one, and there's been so many of those crystals that I've opened. Like statistically, I feel like I should have hit by now, but no luck.
I've got a 4-star on one of my 2 accounts. So I've only like dabbled and messed around with them, but at this point in the game, any of us that have been playing for any extended period of time, you get a 4-star and you're gonna play around with them for a bit, get a feel for them just to see if you maybe like that champion. But once you get Thronebreaker on, there's also this reality that sets in where not to judge a champion too harshly based off of 3-star, 4-star gameplay because they're not the same. Like they're not the same at all. I'll play with somebody that's a 4-star and think that they're trash, and then I'll get them as a 5 or a 6-star, and I'm like, ooh, 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 I like this. They're just not the same character, really. You don't get a feel for them.
I was finishing up like exploring the new EQ, the Thronebreaker difficulty. And they have the OG Ultron in there, where you can only get the 5-star one from the Labyrinth of Legends. And playing against that dude for, I don't know, 6 years now, right? Learned something today. I did not know that because he was kicking my ass and I recorded it and I was going to post it, but Hercules wasn't doing any of his burst damage. Like my ability accuracy was shut down. I finished the fight and I was like, man, what the hell's going on? More bugs. So I was about to start complaining. But then I opened it up and I read his toolkit and he lowers ability accuracy per armor up buff. And this damn node, bro, he gets 5 armor up buffs, so I have no ability accuracy. I was like, man, sometimes it's cool to learn, a game that I play every single day for years. I learned something new about one of the originals. Not original, but he's an OG either way. So,
Yeah, he's really old.
yeah, that's crazy.
He'd be a good one to get buffed.
JX, which unplayable character would you add to the playable list?
Yeah, this one's an easy one for me. Well, I assume because Maestro being dead, I take him off the table. It's Jean Grey. Like we had Jean Grey. She came to the game with like basically like Phoenix, Jean Grey turned into Phoenix, then turned to Dark Phoenix, and then after Dark Phoenix, she got split from Phoenix and then disappeared from the game. Like kind of like Jessica Jones, she disappeared from the game like I think 2017. So 6 years ago, and then showed up as a playable character last year. So I'm one in the same thing. Phoenix and Jean Grey are so separate in their powers. Like Phoenix does nothing with her actual mutant abilities from Jean Grey. So to actually have one of the most iconic X-Men, one of the most powerful telekinetics, I think is a shame she's not playable. Like I tell Kabam all the time, like if you're gonna make someone playable, make her because you can have the most fun with her.
That'd be a good one. She is pretty OP. I'm a fan of OP characters.
Yeah.
To copy Rob last week, but it is true, super overpowered characters they're exciting. They're fun.
What's interesting with Marvel with comics, when they started sort of rating levels for characters, when they would give somebody an Omega designation, if that character had multiple powers, and Jean Grey is a good example, she's telepathic and telekinetic, right? She's an Omega level mutant, but only telepathically. Her telekinetic doesn't have an Omega level. Like she can't move the world around.
Right. Like a separate scale.
Right. So if people have multiple powers, not all of their powers are Omega level.
Nice. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Learn all kinds of new stuff today. Your live EQ playthrough the other day. What do you think about story they've crafted for this month?
It was pretty cool. I haven't streamed like that in like a year and a half. Been so busy with school. Graduating early means I'm taking more classes, so I rarely have time. But I did that one because I was like, I think it'd be fun, and I read it live with everyone, and yeah, it was really cool. They make a lot of love to the comics, to the 4 issues of a future Ant-Man's appearance. They did a lot of love to Cassie from the comics to the MCU. She feels just like Scott Lang's daughter. Like their chemistry is on point. Yeah, and I think I actually had one of the writers, Mr. Nickel, who did the voice acting for the Traitor for MCOC and MROC. He responded saying, like, I was talking about, they made a reference to Scott Lang's first appearance, and so he like confirmed that on Twitter. So that was pretty cool. I always love that. It was a good EQ.
Yeah, yeah, it was good. I agree. I like the story. I thought it was pretty entertaining. Now, I am not as astute as you two, but do you think that what they've crafted for MCOC has any relation to anything we might see in the new Ant-Man movie?
Do you mean like future Ant-Man coming to the MCU, or just kind of the story in
Yeah,
general? Okay.
yeah.
I believe Kabam have said he's not a spoiler for the movie, so I'm not expecting future Ant-Man. But funny enough, in the actual story of the game, there's an army of Ant-Man, which we see in the trailer. So I love to the movie, and Kank not being in this event is kind of interesting. They could have played with that, but I guess it
Ooh.
coming off of Act 7, I guess they don't really need him.
Yeah, that's true. I like Kang though. Put him in more.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What's that Slipstream, the Act 7 Kang, you know? Not the trophy Kang. He's cool too, but futuristic Kang is badass.
Oh God, he's dope. JX, being a busy guy, college, content creating, podcasts, social media, it's a lot. And for anybody that's out there that's thinking about getting into all this stuff, a lot goes into it. You don't just do a podcast, you do a podcast, you edit it, you have to publish it, then you have to publish it in 5 different places online. Then you have to promote it. So that alone, you guys have so much going on with just the podcast, and then you're also making all these predictions for the community. God bless. You're all over social media. When I send a message out to you, you're very quick to respond, which tells me that you stay on it, right? Now, when it comes to the game, we've got so much content. And then they've got all these special objectives all the time. So, my question is, where is your in-game focus at this moment with everything that you have going on in life and the game being as full as it has been as long as I can remember? Where's your focus with in-game content and what has had to take a back seat recently?
That's a good question. I am not as like game focused. Like I'm a story person, so for me, EQ is I do it every single month. Record the dialogue, whatever difficulty. Now I'm probably gonna go into Thronebreaker. So probably back burner has been really the ad content. I'm on 7.3. I can easily do it. I just don't take the time. Like I'll put up an MCOC noob guide and do it when I do it. So I probably say the ad content. There's a lot of content I haven't done. Like I haven't done Abyss. I haven't done the Grandmaster's Gauntlets, etc. So there's stuff I could do, but I'm not so game focused. Like, oh, I need to be Paragon. I need to have every champion in the game, or I need to have every rank 5, etc. Like I'm not really into that. But when I have time, I love to do it, and I love to read it. And so probably story would be my main thing, but and anything else is on the back burner.
Just overall complete umbrella statement. Have you been enjoying the game lately?
Yes and no. I think like some like battle rounds I've had so much hate. Just like not like towards it, but like so much like anger of fighting people. I'm not the biggest roster, so I feel like when I go against people in battle rounds, they just have so much better rosters than I do. Which congrats to them, but like for me it's not focused on that. I kind of get the short end of the stick on that one. So but story, I usually always enjoy it. Now Cavalier's so easy, so that's an easy run I can do anywhere. Thronebreaker, I'll have to take time to, plan the path or whatnot. And then, bugs, of course, I always don't like them. Especially if they crash the game constantly or having trouble with nodes, it is what it is. So I'll probably close the game, come back later.
I feel you on the BGs, bro. I mean, not the biggest roster, but I got a pretty solid roster. And it's always like these first couple weeks, and I like to think that I'm good at the game. But dude, I don't know who the heck they're putting in these first couple weeks because I get wrecked. Like I can't win anything. I gotta wait till at least give me 2 weeks, and if I jump on at like 2 a.m., maybe I can knock up a couple wins and I'll get out of bronze. But I feel you, dude. It's
Yeah.
rough.
You know what I do in the first couple weeks when I know that the competition is going to be steep? It doesn't matter to me that much, and I don't have any disillusion that I'm going to end up in the top brackets for people running the game in BGs. So I just go in and get my points in the first couple weeks. It's like you need to finish 3 matches, you get your points. Boom, done. So even if I lose, like sometimes I'll go in there when I'm dead ass tired and I know that I don't even have the mental fortitude to actually, excuse me, I need to turn my sound off. I don't even have the mental fortitude to actually sit there and think things through or put anything, can't put thoughts together, right? But I'll still go in and get wrecked and cash out my points and then use them in the battleground store and get some sig stones or something. I really don't care in the first couple weeks because I just don't have any faith that it's gonna go anywhere.
Good attitude. Get your points, get your rewards.
Yeah.
Looking forward to this new meta because that last one was a doozy.
Yeah.
Uh, I am probably gonna ban Void every single time, but yeah, I'm pretty excited. I've been seeing everybody finishing fights with like 100% health, using the willpower mastery to keep you healed up. So it's like everybody on Twitter and Instagram that's posting their BG stuff, they're like, everybody's scoring like high 40s, mid 50s, like 53K. And then the opponent scored like 52.5. I'm like, man. So it seems like this BG season, we're going back to something that's more skill based and not RNG per se, because there's only so many champions who are immune to the power burn so I felt like last season you really had to have a nice roster, but you also had to have like a little sprinkle of good luck in there so that you could get the champs you needed to be effective. Good luck and KB don't mix, so that was rarely happening for me. So this one seems like, give it 2 weeks when I can play with peasants like me, and then I'll start climbing the ranks. I'm excited.
I want to shift gears here for a second. There's finally been some buzz. It sounds like they've been quietly casting for Fantastic Four. Hypothetical fantasy world, let's assume that we're getting the main 6 characters that everyone thinks about with Fantastic Four. Mr. Fantastic, Thing, Torch, Invisible Woman, Doom, Silver Surfer. Who are you wanting to cast for those?
I feel like I had this written down somewhere, like from back when the first buzz came out. I was like, oh, this is who I want. This is who I don't want. Who do we get in Multiverse of Madness? John Krasinski.
John Krasinski, yeah.
So I like him as an actor. Like I watched the Tom Clancy's, Jack Ryan. He's amazing in that. I'd like to see him return. If he doesn't, I'm okay with it. Just because hey, multiverse variants, we get it. But yeah, I'd like him to return. I think people like casted his wife as Sue Storm. That'd be okay. If there's someone else, I don't have anyone perfectly in mind. Someone who's just the same age range. I feel like if you're gonna make the Fantastic Four, like you can make Johnny younger. Like that makes sense. But I feel like Sue and Reed same age, and then for Johnny, I think that's what Montgomery. He was in Stranger Things. I've seen some work for him. He seems pretty cool. He can like do that stud vibe of being like famous and everything. The Thing, there were some good ones. Don't remember all of them off the top of my head, but I feel like anyone can do Thing. It just depends on how they do them. Like they do them prosthetics, like they did the early 2000s Fantastic Four, which I liked because I was born in the early 2000s, and so I love those films. Prosthetics, I'd hope they go that way and kind of. I saw someone say they want him to like turn into human and back to Thing. That'd be kind of interesting. It would feel like the actor would actually be acting more.
Almost in the sense of like Hulk does it, where
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I haven't even heard that before.
Yeah, I just saw it the other day and I was like, that's a good idea because I feel like people don't want to play these big prosthetic things or they don't want to play these big CGI characters. Especially we're getting the CGI is getting a little wonky now. I feel so weird.
Right.
Who do you guys think? Because I usually agree with most people's castings.
Well, what about Doom and Silver Surfer though? Silver Surfer may not be as important because he may end up being a CGI guy again, but to me, I think Doom is one of the most important, vital castings in the future of MCU.
Yeah.
Now you got to get that right.
Yeah, absolutely. You gotta have someone who's such a presence on screen, such a play. Doom isn't even like a. He's not like a normal villain. Because he cares about his whole country, Latveria, that he has to keep on his shoulders, and hate Reed Richards and absolutely do anything like he's obsessed with Reed Richards. There's so many good actors for that one, and to do someone who's not in the MCU before. I saw someone with Cillian Murphy was someone. I haven't watched too much
Mhm.
of him, but I feel like he could be a good one. I saw someone say Mads Mikkelsen, who was in Doctor Strange, so they could reuse him. It would be my favorite thing, but he's a phenomenal actor. I'm good at faces, but I'm not good at names. So
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of because I've seen like I follow Twitter, like I'll follow fan castings, and I'll see what people are thinking.
I'm also really good with faces. So while you're spitting these people off, I'm sitting here googling them so I can make sure I know
Yeah,
who we're talking about.
yeah,
Because I
yeah,
can remember your face forever, but your name I forget in 5 seconds.
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
And
Trouble habit.
Cillian Murphy was well, most people know him from Peaky Blinders, but he
Yeah,
also played Scarecrow on Batman. He was also in Inception. He's been in a bunch of Christopher Nolan stuff. Mads Mickelson, whatever. A lot of people probably remember him recently as playing Hannibal on that show. So he was the one that played Hannibal Lecter. The only I love both of those two guys, and I'm pulling for Cillian, but my only concern, they're going to already be aged out of playing that role because I think that they do want to keep everyone around their 30s, which is funny because I know Thaddeus Ross was supposed to be an older guy, but goddamn, like
yeah.
Harrison Ford's like 80. I still don't understand. I love Harrison Ford. I grew up on Indiana Jones and Star Wars. Love that dude. I just I still can't really figure out what they were doing. They just had an actor pass away that was supposed to carry that role on for another probably decade or so. And then it's like, I don't want to seem blasphemous as a Star Wars Indiana Jones fan, but it's like, come on, man. We also have to live in a world that's real and people get old, they pass away. I feel like they're setting themselves up.
Well, I'm curious on that is kind of what they're doing with people who like with now this is Disney, right? So exactly, you have those Harrison Ford films. There might, if he does pass away, they might just like take his voice and AI it. You're gonna already have Red Hulk already be CGI. You just need a stand-in. So at
Right.
that point, we're at this weird stage where we have this entire character like you could put it in CGI and have a AI voice. And I think that's why they casted him is because they have so much in their vault that they can
They own the rights too.
yes, exactly.
And that's a good
That's
point.
interesting. Yeah, I've never
Yeah.
even thought about that. I mean, they brought back, what was his name, Grand Moff,
Yeah.
and they digitally recreated him in Star Wars, like 100%. The dude
Yeah.
was passed away for like 20 years.
Young Luke Skywalker's back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Star Wars are doing a lot of that.
Did you see that there's a new Indiana Jones coming out? They announced it the other day.
Yeah, have you seen the trailer?
I haven't seen the trailer. To be honest with you, I just saw a headline, or maybe it was like a meme. It was like new Indiana Jones budget is like 2.7 billion or million, 270 million. I'm sorry. So maybe I don't know. I'm mixing up the numbers, but it was a really big budget. And then underneath it was like a comment, and they were like, "Who the hell asked for a new Indiana Jones movie?" And I was like, "Damn." But I was also thinking, there's plenty of people who grew up, just like LJ said, on Indiana Jones. So I'm sure there's going to be plenty of people, no matter how well, not no matter how big the budget is, but I'm sure the movie will do well. I just thought that was funny.
It looked fine, and they did like we just talked about. They CGI'd him, made him younger for the beginning of the beginning of the trailer. So
What was that Netflix movie where they made like Robert De Niro and them younger? It was super
Ye-
long, like 4 hour movie. What was that?
yeah, it
yeah.
was The Irishman.
Hmm.
Yes. Yeah.
Yo,
That was a
it's
joke.
no, I love The Irishman, but it's like I kind of want to stick up for the MCU for a second because Martin Scorsese is a brilliant director. I love the dude. I love his movies. Arguably, probably one of my favorite directors of all time. But I don't know how you're gonna walk around shit on the MCU when you had time to de-age somebody. Like, how you gonna de-age Robert De Niro, but all of his movements still look like old man movements? You know what I mean? Like, he's got that. People can't see when they're sitting at home. This is where video would be nice, but De Niro is to the old man stage where everything he does, he looks like he's shrugging his shoulders with all of his movements. He's very stiff. Young guys don't move like that. You know what I mean? So it's like they took forever de-aging him, and they spent a huge chunk of the budget to do that. And I feel like objectionably it still looks like but it's but you're gonna sit back and just dunk on the MCU for not being real movies. It's like, it was a great movie. Irishman was great, but that was kind of a shit job de-aging.
Yeah. I watched that and I was like, well, what was kind of the point? Like, I get it for like a scene if you're gonna make him younger, him going like I've seen that movie. It's been since it first came out. It's like, yeah, it makes sense if you do it for a couple scenes, kind of an origin story of him rising up, but like you can tell like exactly in the movements and the mannerisms, like it's like, well, you didn't need to do that.
Yeah, he's supposed to be like a 38-year-old, but he moves like an 80-year-old. It like doesn't make sense. It's like, well, you de-aged his face, but you didn't de-age his old man movements.
I've seen fans have fixed the de-aging. People are like recreating the scenes, and they show like their comparison next to Netflix. It's like, come on, guys. You have someone who's sitting at home on their laptop that made a product that looks 10 times better than what Netflix paid for. Incredible.
Yeah. Did you see what Star Wars did? You mentioned Luke Skywalker being de-aged. Yeah, he showed up in Mandalorian. It looked really wonky, and so someone on YouTube made their own video, did it way better than they did, and then Star Wars hired him to come back on the show and make it better. And it did. It looked actually really good.
Yeah, that's dope.
It's dope.
Absolutely.
It's gonna be J-Ax. He'll be next.
I hope so. I've been bugging Ben. Like, if you guys got anything, just let me know.
Yeah, I would say this isn't a question, but it's more of just a flat out statement. I think that if there's two content creators I want working for Kabam, I want you working on lore stuff and story, and I want Nick Koss to get hired to the animation team already. Good God,
Yeah.
dude. It's the same. This is that Luke Skywalker sort of thing where I'm like wondering when they're gonna friggin' hire the dude, because they've dropped Champs and Nick Koss has dropped his. We find out like they announce this person's coming, and before we even get to see Kabam's, we see Nick Koss's, and then sometimes it's been really kind of disappointing when we see Kabam's because Nick Koss's was so damn good. They drop theirs and Nick Koss's just look crispy.
That's the bar really high.
Yeah.
You guys see his Aegon 2099 video he just dropped recently?
Yes, after like 4 months of being gone, like I'm glad he came back, and that video was so good. All of his videos are so good, and they sent him a link to go to the hiring page. So if that's not in the works, I'll have to message him.
Wow. Yeah,
That's
as soon
cool.
as we can line up a Russian translator, he's going to come on the show too. So that should be
Yeah,
pretty awesome.
we asked him to come on the show, but he's been pretty busy with the war over there. That's kind of what's kind of put his content on the back burner.
LJ.
What's that?
Just saying, good picks. Bring Jay and Nick Koss. Come on board, guys.
Oh yeah.
I asked him, like, if you guys have a writing, if you have a writing spot, let me, like, you guys have animators all the time. You guys have engineers and champion designer. Like, as soon as there is a writing spot open, let me know. I will fly to Vancouver and get me in there.
That'd be so dope. Kevin Feige recently addressed this topic of superhero fatigue, and I can't speak for everyone, but myself, I don't believe that it's an issue of superhero fatigue. Personally, I believe that it was a stiff reaction from the fan base to basically sort of this general feeling of quantity over quality. How do you feel about that? Do you feel that we're at a place with superhero fatigue, or do you think that people were just kind of unhappy with Phase 4.
I think it's a little bit of both. I don't think it's superhero fatigue. I think it's fatigue in general. I've studied film, and when you make the same type of like stereotypical writing, it really gets boring and like old. I think that's that type of fatigue. It's the writing or the same type of jokes. For superhero fatigue and Phase 4, I think Phase 4, kind of what you mentioned. Like we want more quality, we want better writing, we want better CGI. There were some great hits in Phase 4, and there were some great, like, they're really bad lows. So hopefully they're assuming that Phase 5, they're like, okay, well, this is what we got wrong in Phase 4. Let's make Phase 5 better. And from what I've seen, Quantumania and making it like an Avengers level threat, I think they got it. Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's not, in my opinion, there was some really cool moments in Phase 4 that got kind of overlooked or slept on. And it's true, we did have a lot of bad CGI, but there was a lot of really great moments that I loved where CGI wasn't, you've got the great moments of CGI where you've got Makari fighting Icarus on Eternals. No matter how you feel about that movie, I don't care how you feel about the movie. If you watch that one fight, that was insane. That fight was insane. But then on the flip side of it, you've got moments that have zero CGI. Some of my favorite moments are when you've got an actor that can convey an emotion and make you feel something without even saying a word. And there was that moment on Hawkeye where Echo is in that red room and she's just listening to that loud music with the bass, and she like puts her hand over the bass and she's just feeling the vibrations, and she's got her eyes closed. And that was it. Just that moment before she gets interrupted by that dude that walked in. But that moment was so cool. It was just such a cool moment. Do you think that they need to, because Rob, that we just had on, he said that he felt like, controversial opinion, but he felt like the movies in the early 2000s were more fun. And although he understands why they've taken a serious approach with the MCU, he feels sometimes like it's too dark or too serious. Do you agree with that, or do you think that Phase 4 wasn't serious enough and that was what people had a problem with?
That's interesting. I feel like Phase 4 had a lot of fun and a lot of I like the more serious tone, especially when the MCU is based off the Ultimate Universe, where it's like these are superheroes in real life and this is how they work. Real life is it's a bunch of darkness, and it's a real life comparison. But Phase 4 had a lot of fun and a lot of seriousness. Early 2000s having more fun, I'm not sure on, because I feel like some were super serious and some weren't fun, and some Phase 4 was fun. Like I feel like Miss Marvel was pretty fun. Kate Bishop was a really fun character. I don't know. It just depends on who your villain is. I feel like it always, to me, if you're gonna write a story, like Loki was pretty serious. I mean, you were like, holy crap, once you finished that series. I think that was nailed down. Moon Knight, I actually would have liked it to be more serious with the stakes of it. In fact, no one's even mentioned if Moon Knight yet, which I really like to feel like a connected universe. It just depends. But yeah, it really just depends on your villain and how you want to tell your story and how you want to connect it to the universe. No Way Home was a good example. That was pretty serious, and it was fun at the same time, and I think that's a good balance.
Yeah, 100%. I felt like that movie was well balanced.
I didn't even think of, like you just said, that no one else in the MCU has even mentioned Moon Knight. Even clicked with me. But you're right, and now it's bothering me.
Yeah.
They finally mentioned, God, what do they call them? I'm gonna edit all this out. Celestials.
Yeah, that's Celestial.
Oh, yeah.
The one that's sticking out of the middle of the ocean on Earth.
Yeah, Tiamat.
Like Tiamat. Yeah, how long are we gonna go before somebody like drives a boat up to Tiamat and like looks at it?
I was waiting. I was telling my brother and my dad also play the game, and we watch every MCU content together with the whole family. And I was like, how long is it going to take for the Celestial to get name dropped or anything, or the Celestial being in the sky, right? Like Arashim. Come on. With Moon Knight, it made sense because I guess if you weren't if you didn't have that connection, you couldn't see the giant Khonshu and versus So that made sense. But at least like new heroes like Scarlet, Scarab, and Moon Knight. Like I think it'd be cool to make it a connection. And I just kind of hope that keeps going forward. Like I want to feel like connected universe. I feel like Phase 4 it perfectly with Phase 4 is supposed to be a new Phase 1 basically. And I think what Phase 1 made so sweet is it went from one project straight to the next, etc. And Phase 4 didn't do that for me because they didn't want to do it. They had the pandemic, which made them were like, well, we don't really know what we want our timeline to be. So once we get to Phase 5, we'll make sense of it.
Think I've seen rumors. I guess maybe it's rumors. Maybe people more educated than me might know a little bit more. But I've seen people saying like that the Celestial in the middle of the ocean is going to be like a new resource that everybody's going to be fighting over in the MCU.
I saw that rumor. It
Yeah.
was the rumor I saw was that it's vibranium, which doesn't make any sense. For I think it was what Captain America 4. It's a rumor that the also you saw with Wakanda Forever, like the U.S. government, they're like, we need vibranium. We don't care how we get it, we need it. And so they're gonna do anything for it. So they want to like mine Tiamat for vibranium, which is I don't know why they do that. I feel like that's lazy writing right there. If it's like celestial material, I kind of get it. Like the Asgardians, they got the Uru metal, right? So maybe like the Celestials are made of something, and it makes sense. But hopefully, it's not
Yeah. Like Thanos' glaive or Corvus glaive or whatever. One of their weapons was like a different type of metal that was competing with like vibranium.
Yeah, and there's thing like there's like animanium can sometimes be close to as powerful as vibranium. So there's always metals that can. So I think that's I'd be okay with that if they're trying to mine it for celestial material. It'd be okay.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, give us carbonadium. Get Omega Red in there.
I remember when Omega Red was rumored to be in Shang-Chi. That was a weird one.
Yeah, and Falcon and Winter Soldier too.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
People made a lot of fan-made art, a lot of stuff, and some really cool stuff. But it was a big rumor that Omega Red was going to be in there. And looking back on it, like I don't understand where that rumor started. I guess it's just bullshit that came out of the film in the sky because as you get halfway through that season and you're like, why would Omega Red be in this story at all?
Yeah.
It makes zero sense. I understand the tie-in with the super soldier stuff, but there's just like no real connection here. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, maybe in the original script, because the original script was like, like not hilariously, but like it was ironically just as our actual pandemic. It was supposed to be where a virus going around, so then the whole of them would be like trying to spread that vaccine to everyone because the government's trying to regulate it for that country, and so they're trying to get the vaccine to everyone. And then I guess more of like you said, like the super soldier program, not only in the U.S. but maybe Russia, like Red Guardian, etc., would have been tied in. But yeah, that show struggled with exactly that, like the rewriting of it, and it didn't feel like the smasher at the end of it didn't really feel anything.
I don't hate to. I love to bring it back to MCOC, but so I wanted to since you are the prediction master, I wanted to see if you could predict a couple champs who might be buffed this year.
Oof. We'll see. Oh, you're just asking me in general?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna make a list.
Oh no, I'm asking you to
goodness.
tell us who you see in your crystal ball over there.
Crystal ball, yes. Pondering the orb. Let's see here. I always look at like kind of what LJ was saying, like look at patterns, right? So, all right, we had America Chavez and Gore this month, which with rebalancing for Gore, so it's probably going to be a rebalance of someone like I think we have Shuri next, which I think she'll be rebalanced. Maybe Atuma. I think I was talking to Aiden Egatron about his thorns damage being a better defender, but for sure I think Shuri. With Hulk already being planned, Spider-Man being planned, Iceman being planned, Black Panther was said to be planned last year, and Sentry was said to be on the back burner. If Mantis and Jessica Jones, which I doubt Jessica Jones counts, Iceman for that month with Mantis, if she doesn't need to be rebalanced, I could see overhauls for really any 2015, 2014 champ that needs it. Probably Drax. I feel like Drax could use a good overhaul. He's someone who I've never seen someone use Drax in a long time. Iron Patriot, Superior Iron Man, class any Captain Marvel, like Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, those two. What are they doing there?
Yeah, that noodle.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's lots of value update buffs that could do pretty well. Loki could get one. Rogue would be so good. Beast,
Ooh,
Phoenix,
yeah.
like there's some good ones that I think Kabam are just they're looking at, with the rebalancing program, right? Who needs a big rebalance? Who doesn't need it? If they don't need it, let's do a big overhaul buff like Hulk, Spider-Man. If there's someone in the middle like America Chavez, give her a little tune-up.
I'm still holding out. I'm waiting for. I know a lot of people online are also waiting, but we need a group buff soon.
Yeah.
Do we though? Do we? Yo, I love I love Groot in the movies and all that. I love the character. In the game, he's still a log. I don't know. Groot's so tight, but
Buff would be nice because literally the entire player base already has him duped
yeah.
and probably high sig. So like
Mhm.
that buff would please everybody.
As long as
Yeah.
it's not bad.
Yeah, true. They make him
Um,
worse. We're like, no.
That would be the biggest troll ever, though. How great would that be? How everyone would honestly have to laugh if they were like, yeah, we're actually nerfing Groot.
The April Fools, they announce it.
Yeah, like we were gonna buff him, we decided to make him worse.
That would be some shit. Be funny.
Yo, I would die. I would die laughing. I'd be like, that's so great. You guys actually made him worse. Like, honestly, for once, good on you, Kabam.
The other one I did mention was Iron Fist. I mentioned Immortal Iron Fist earlier, but Iron Fist, someone in the Mystic class with Chi could kind of buff other Mystics. And you made me think of Groot, who obviously regenerates. And with Iron Fist, he can heal others in the comics. That's something I'm surprised Kabam never did. Is he can heal people on his team that would not have to use health potions, or even
Wow.
revives. So I think that'd be pretty sweet.
That'd be awesome.
So going down this same path of thought here, I don't want to mess with any of your future content. And I'm sure you got some ideas. And as much as I want to pick your brain about, you've got all the predictions up to what, July or June?
To June. I mean, I have my predictions after that, but it's because of the roadmap. I don't know how to pair it per month. So
Right. Well, I don't want to step on toes with future content that's coming out because that's big content for you. I want to respect that.
I mean, if you want to ask, you can.
Are you good with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I've made videos on it already, so it's not like I'm like, oh, this is who I think for July or etc. It's okay.
Okay. Well, yeah, if you're open to it, I what I was gonna ask was if you know I don't want to spoil your upcoming content, so who would you want? But if you want to bless us with a little sneak peek,
Right. I've been kind of moving this around just because obviously, like, we have the roadmap, right? We know what's January, February to June. But we don't know what's after that. Just looking at, say, the Battle Realm map, there's only so many characters on the map, and they fit kind of perfectly with how we're doing it. So I've already mentioned on Twitter because you guys talked about Silver Samurai on Twitter, which was pretty awesome. Amazing character. I think he's gonna be. There's a clan of Wolverine, like a clan of Wolverine, which was in Emrock that they put on the State of Battle map when Emrock got destroyed. And two spots popped up, and I think that's Silver Samurai and Lady Deathstrike. If you've read comics, you'll both recognize those characters. Huge Wolverine characters that are tied to him. I mean, Dakin's another option, which is perfectly fine. I think because we have so many Wolverines, you have Wolverine, Old Man Logan, X-23. We even have an X-Force Wolverine that's not playable. You have Weapon Flex. I think we have too many actual Wolverines in the game. So I think two kind of characters like Omega Red, he's in Clan of Wolverine. So those two characters make sense. Silver Samurai, a master swordsman, also a mutant who basically puts a tachyon field on his sword and makes it as powerful as Animanium, which is exciting because could he be skilled? Could he be mutant? I'm really curious on how Kabam are going to do that one.
Well, because there was two. I hate to interrupt, but there was two different Silver Samurai in comics, right?
Mhm.
The first one was the one that was mutant that could charge his sword psionically, right? Something
Mhm.
like that. That was the cooler Silver Samurai, the one that came first.
Yeah, he's the main one everyone knows is in that the Kunichiya Harada. I don't know Japanese, so but yeah, he has that power, the of wielding his katana and putting his taki on. So I think he's probably gonna be skilled, but if if they're following the pattern of putting most mutants in mutant class or even non-mutants like Sauron and Deadpool, then he probably could be mutant, which would be pretty interesting. Lady Deathstrike not being a mutant and being a cyborg could go in the tech class. Yeah, there's other characters too. Like I have Agatha, who got second place. We already know Gladiator winning. Congratulations to him. Powerhouse for the Shi'ar Empire. I'm kind of pairing those two together. Looking back at the previous Summoner's Choice, we've seen like Hercules. He got brought in with America Chavez. If Hercules lost and Mega Sentinel won, she would have brought him with America. Same thing with Gallon and Quicksilver. If Quicksilver lost, Agatha won, it would have been with Gallon no matter what. So I'm kind of thinking of characters who, lore reasons, can bring in someone and maybe she mind controls him, does some damage, or maybe something else. She accidentally brings him in. Who knows? I was looking at I'm kind of confident on the new symbiote being a character, probably Scream. We have a new guillotine character. Kabam Gabe, former director, kind of confirmed it's not Latverian Guillotine, who was on the new map that we have, the fighting stage, Hasendot Castle. So maybe the Baron Guillotine from Emrock. It's hard to say because with Kabam Originals, you're just kind of like I kind of guessed when Purgatory came. I was like, yeah, it's someone new to the Guillotine storyline. That's all I got to say. So yeah, something like that. Pair those together. We've seen with Venom and Guillotine, they first came to the game in 2015, the same month in October. So there's a new Alpha Flight member coming to the game. There's a new. I'm just looking around my map. I'm trying to think. There's a
Like
new
it.
yeah. There's some characters for two. It's just hard to put them together. Like there's a Patriot Garrison. That could be U.S. Agent, but he's also in Thunderbolts. So are they gonna save him for Thunderbolts? Or are they gonna put him in the game this year like Sam Wilson last year?
We'll graduate, but eventually these will be recorded so people can see. Because LJ and I are to witness J-Ax's mind, the wheels
Yeah.
turning.
Yeah.
It would be cool if everybody else could see it, but you guys will just have to be jealous. We got to see it. Sorry.
Yeah. And I didn't mention Monica Rambeau is we have her movie Marvels 2, which I hope we get a trailer at the Super Bowl. I've heard some rumors. Yes, that'd be so sweet. And if you've noticed, when we have an MCU character, they're always in the trailer. Like Kabam never do spoilers. So if we get the villain of that movie in the trailer, then we're gonna have Monica Rambeau and that villain for July, is what I think.
Yeah, Rob brought that up last week. The rumor is that there should be a trailer for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I listened to that and I was like, oh really? You guys? Okay. Yeah, now I'm excited.
Yeah. Well, and he said that the rumor is that Adam Brashear might be in the
Yeah.
preview. Blue Marvel for people that don't follow the comics, but easily one of the coolest characters in Marvel Comics. It's mind blowing to me that he's not in game or that he was left up to a wild card vote. He's just somebody that's so respected and so loved. It's like just put him in the game. Just
Yeah.
put him in the
That's
damn game.
That's who I voted for. The first Summoner's Choice back in 2020. Like that's who I voted for, and I was
Yeah.
gutted that he lost. I was like, how can you not vote for this powerhouse?
Did you? That's one of my favorite moments from the last episode because Rob knows of the game, but he doesn't play it. So when we said he was actually in a vote, I think KB said it like he was actually in a vote. Well, yeah, wild card vote. And he said, "Really, really? Who did he lose against?" And we said, "Bullseye." And he went, "Huh."
Mysterious.
Just hearing Rob go, "Huh."
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't have guessed that or voted that.
You can tell that's his genuine reaction. I watch his videos all the time, and like when he's excited about a character, like come on guys, are you guys get like ramping everyone up. Like he does such a
Yeah.
good job at that. Yeah, I was excited. I was the exact same way. I was like, how did Bullseye? I guess because they put Daredevil, right? I get it, but come on, man. Blue Marvel, and you guys remember WandaVision when we had the specialists come in, and everyone's like, "That's Blue Marvel, that's Reed Richards." I was expecting no one, but I was like, "I want Blue Marvel. I don't want Reed to be this way. Like Blue Marvel would be cool. Monica's already in the show, get that team going." Um, yeah. So hopefully the Marvels. It makes sense. I mean, Marvel's in his name, right? If you're gonna have the Marvels, you gotta have Blue Marvel.
You know who I want to play Blue Marvel right now? Because a lot of people were talking about Denzel.
Yeah.
Here's my idea. Here's my pitch for Blue Marvel, and it's a little curveball, but instead of Denzel, hire Denzel's son, the main actor from Tenet. Hire him, age him up right now, with a little makeup and stuff, make him look a little bit older than he is, and then he can just grow into that age as the movies go on. So you've got this actor that we don't have to age down later,
Yeah.
and you can just have him be older when he's actually older. But his son may not be Denzel, but I mean, those are big shoes to fill. Nobody's Denzel.
Yeah.
Denzel's just one of the greatest actors, in my opinion, that's ever lived. But his son is phenomenal. He's such a good actor as well. And I feel like he could really legitimately age into that role over time, and you wouldn't have to do too much work.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Denzel's a goat, man. What was that damn movie? Book of Eli? Was that blind dude? Yeah. My buddy actually named his son Eli after that
Really?
movie, which is funny. Yeah.
That's cool.
And I think I remember like at the time some people were saying that it was like a flop and they didn't enjoy it, but I thought I enjoyed it. You play Last of Us?
Did I play the game?
Yeah.
I own the game. I don't own the second one, but I watched it when it first came out. I watched it when the second game came out, and I'm watching the show right now. So I'm caught up on the show. But I know everything that happens because I've seen people play it.
I didn't watch last night's episode since
You got
it was yeah. I forgot all about it. I'll be completely honest with you. My cousin was texting me about the new season of South Park. So I was trying to find that on HBO, and I just got carried away. And then it's like 11:30. I'm like laying down to go to bed, and I check Facebook, and everybody's talking about Last of Us, and I was like, no way.
Yeah, it came out early because of the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's been hailed by a lot of people, myself included, as being like one of the best video game adaptations that I've seen. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I agree. I video game to like live action is such a bad rep because like Super Mario Bros. You know, it's it's that's garbage. And for this to be so well put together, you have Neil Druckmann, the director of Last of Us, coming to actually produce the show is exactly how you need to do something from game for really anything, especially with comics too. It's the same thing in the MCU. Get the comic writers to come on the show. Like you're kind of missing out on that. And yeah, it's so good, and they change things too, which you'll notice if you play the game. They'll change it, or they'll make nods to the game. But they do the cinematography is amazing. The world building is my favorite thing about like when you make a fantasy world. The world building, it needs to be. You can't just have like this small included story. It doesn't work out when you have a whole entire world filled of these clickers, bloaters, and they do a fantastic job. And the casting, I was unsure about the casting. Pedro Pascal, he's gonna nail it. The I don't know the actor for she was in Game of Thrones, so I was curious on how she was gonna play Ellie. If it would feel the same as the show, it feels the same as the game into the show, and yeah, it kind of does. It does, and she's doing a great job. Everyone out, like Tess was great. It's like it does feel really good. Like I'm praising it. HBO stuff like House of Dragon, Game of Thrones, for the most part, they do a fantastic job at making these fantasy worlds true, and I think it should be like it should be praised for a good reason.
Saw this meme. It was like scientists predict by the year 2053, all leading roles will be Pedro Pascal.
Good. As long as it's not Tom
Right?
Holland or Chris Pratt, I'm okay with that because I don't want them.
Nails it all. I mean, this must be the year of Pedro because we got Mando coming out again. He's crushing The Last of Us. Dude, he's everywhere. I'm
Yeah,
all for it.
yeah. No, he's great. Um, I love his Chilean accent. It's so it's so interesting. Like I'm listening to him. Like I don't even like my family. My mom's side of the family is from Panama, so we're from Central America. And so for Chilean, like that accent is so interesting to hear. You don't hear it all the time here, and I like it.
Yeah, three of my cousins are half Chilean. They don't have accents. They don't have cool accents. They actually grew up mostly in Louisiana. But
I
but
missed
They
out.
got Bayou accents.
yeah.
Where my family's from. Sometimes they start talking, and I need subtitles for real life. And I'm like, you guys are my family. Like,
Oh man,
speak
yeah.
English here, guys.
I'm slow on Spanish, so I just like just talk, slow down so I can understand. But
Yeah.
it's funny.
So one of your questions for Rob was, what are you most anticipating out of the DC slate? And I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you the same thing because I've got my opinions, KB's got his, Rob had his, but I mean, you're the you're another comic book guru, so I want to know what you're excited about.
Yeah, that was interesting. DC these past couple years, I've been like, whatever, dude. It's another project
Right.
I don't really care about. But this is kind of new, rebooting the universe as they should to blank slate. The main one that was out to me, like Rob, was the Green Lantern show. Finally, Green Lantern is being put up to the front spotlight. Finally, since Ryan Reynolds, which everyone does not like that film. So I'm excited for that, and having they're space cops. Like they're just like the Nova Force for DC. That's what they do, and there's so much cool stories. Kind of like make it like a lot of DC stuff is going to be we've seen is tied to Earth. So to have a show that's probably not going to be tied to Earth or at least close to it, there's a lot of different sectors that they're going to cover. So I think that's a fantastic show. And I don't know if you guys watch Young Justice. You were talking about HBO Max. Young Justice is one of my favorite animated shows of all time, and how they bring in real world problems and put them into the show is like probably I think they probably do it the best. And when they have the Green Lantern stuff going on, like they do it perfectly. Same with like the Justice League animated show from the early 2000s. Those do it well, and I really hope they look at that and look at comics. I mean, it seems like Jim's Gunn, him shouting out the comics that they're inspired by, made them all bestsellers on Amazon. So I like that. I think that's a good thing. And now I'm trying to think of the slate of what I'm missing.
It was Green Lantern, Waller,
Waller, yeah, he was excited for Waller. I remember that.
Authority.
Yeah, I don't know that much about them actually, so I'm curious on what that's going to be because I haven't read their comics. I only know of them. But that'll be
Yeah,
cool.
I don't know much about the Authority. I know about Midnighter and Apollo, but that's about it.
Yeah.
That's the extent of my knowledge when it comes to Authority.
Oh, I remember now. Swamp Thing was the other one I was excited for.
Oh yeah,
Did they announce Lobo, or was that just a rumor?
no, they
Yeah,
didn't.
just a rumor that
Jason Momoa was going to be Lobo.
yeah,
Not going to
which
be
yeah,
Aquaman.
I if he goes into it, like have you guys seen C on Apple? Phenomenal. He plays this blind dude who is a freaking badass, just killing everyone left and right. But he has to take care of his family. And I feel like on the flip head of that, of being like this insane space mercenary who can't die type of Deadpool kind of character, I think he'll nail it. He just if he loves the character and he commits to it, he's got the build, he's got the hair, he's got like literally. I think he's just got to love the character. I think I have Lobo comics on my wall, but. Yeah, he's one of my favorite characters in DC.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite characters. Period. He's in my top 5, probably coolest characters ever put pen to paper. I love the mercenaries. I love the anti-heroes. They've always been some of my favorites.
Does he break the fourth wall like the Joker and Deadpool? Like, is he aware that he's a comic book character?
Not really. He's not
No.
like breaking the fourth wall. He's just kind of like that same insane type of badass and kicking everyone's ass. Like he was in Young Justice and he kicked Superboy's ass. He handed it to him, and he did lose, but like kind of Deadpool, where he, that single thing of blood can bring him back. The season ended, and the post credit scene was a baby Lobo and him just stomping on it to make sure another clone of him didn't pop up. But he's just such a fun character. He makes jokes all the time, and he doesn't break the fourth wall that I know of.
Going down this same road, I did want to bring up that rumor. There's pretty decent speculation right now that Kang is probably going to be at the center of Secret Wars. You heard the last episode, we talked about that. But I wanted to hear what JX thought about that because although I feel what Rob was saying, I still have a hard time thinking about Secret Wars. Now, if it comes out and it's what he said and it's basically in name only, then it is what it is. But if they start doing the battle world, if they go into this whole line of story with battle world, and Doom's not the one that set it in place, personally, as a big comic book fan, I'm gonna have an issue with that. How do you feel about that idea?
Yeah, I agree. Not having Doom tied to it would be a shame. I mean, he first Secret Wars, Doom Secret Wars. Second one, God Emperor Doom Secret Wars. You gotta have Doom. The caveat of not having Doom and having Kang, I feel like it's weird because you're gonna have the Kang Dynasty War, part 1 to part 2. I would hope it ends with Kang losing in Dynasty War and being like, there was one person I was scared of, and it's this, and it's either Doom. The other one is the Maestro, because we have the contest, right? He actually built Battleworld in our game. In the comics of Contest Champions, he woke up and had to play in this the previous Contest Champions, and then he took it over. So if they're not gonna do, they're gonna. I hope they finish Kang's storyline, and then I hope they go straight into Doom. And if not, Maestro, the Beyonder would be another person, but it just depends on. I don't feel like they're gonna go straight into the Beyonder. I would hope Doom is my number one, but Maestro would be my second pick. Kang would be weird, I feel like.
Right. Yeah. Now, as far as what's loosely slated, because they've moved it around a lot, but loosely slated, World War Hulk was supposed to be down the road after Secret Wars, right?
I'm not even sure, actually.
I'm not even. They change it so much.
Yeah, I know they keep talking about it, or at least keep rumoring it, and with She-Hulk ending that way, like, oh, here's Scar. I'm like, okay, I guess we're getting a movie. Yeah, hopefully they fix that with the Universal. I mean, they seem to fix it with Namor, because Universal hold the rights for Namor for Wakanda Forever. But that was interesting that Namor was in it. I assume I assume beforehand. That seems weird, because it's 2025, right, for those two movies, for Kang Dynasty to Secret Wars, so... Yeah, you have a lot of time in between then, so hopefully they do it before.
They did good with Namor. It was one of my actually probably my single most favorite recent like MCU intro. They crushed it with him. That actor, dude, perfect.
Yeah, Thanos Horta is fantastic, and I like the Mesoamerican change. I like it. At first I was like, really, because you can't, like, fans aren't dumb. They can distinguish the two Atlantises. Like, come on. But to make like, if you're gonna make a change and bring real world influences, that's the way to do it. Like Mesoamerican culture, having him have this whole city underwater, no one knows about it, and he needs to protect it. That's the same thing they're gonna make, same mentality for Doom. That I hope they're gonna do that same way. If he's gonna sacrifice everything for his people, or he needs to, or maybe he's gonna roll with that iron fist like he should, and there'll be consequences of who he pisses off. So yeah, Namor. Oh man, he was cool. He just like showed up. He's like, I'm gonna do this, and then he did it, and then he was like, now we gotta live with it. and all of it was just to get Wakanda as an ally. Which, if you're gonna get one ally, Wakanda being the most powerful country in the entire world is the best ally you could possibly get. So that was really cool on his part.
A good choice.
I loved how absolutely confident Namor was. There's that great scene when he's talking to Angela Bassett and Tanakh and her standing toe to toe in the sand, and he said, "You don't have any chips to play," and she said, "I think I do. What if anything happens to the princess or to Shuri, I'll make sure that the Americans know about you." And he steps in really close to her, and he doesn't get loud. And then it's that quiet confidence that made him so gangster. And he said, "If you do that, I will kill her, and then I will come back here and I will kill you." And he just says it with such force and confidence that it's like, oh, that was so cold. My man is a straight gangster.
just gave me goosebumps. You recapping the scene because
Yeah.
that's like how well he fit that role, and he was just the most perfect badass. And like you said, bro, he's just quiet and confident, and he's like, I'll kill everyone. It's okay. Like we're
Yeah,
good.
and you believe him too. It's not like I don't believe you. It's like, yeah, I believe you. All right, I'm not pissing you off.
That how he
Yeah.
got his name in like the traditional lore where they because it was like Spanish, right? See Namor, like without the kid without love. Is that how he
That,
got his?
for the MCU, yes, but
Yeah.
that wasn't from the comics.
Okay, so they just made that up.
Yeah,
No, it
which is
was
a good change.
yeah, for sure. It was a beautiful tie-in, with that ancient culture, but no, because he didn't have any sort of Latin
Oh,
descent, right?
Yeah,
So he was, I mean, the fan casting up until very shortly before the movie, and they actually released, that they had cast Tanakh. The fans were all casting white guys.
yeah. Which
I mean,
I was curious on. I would have casted a Pacific person or an Asian because that's who I was thinking of. Like if you're gonna be in this part of the sea, you got to look at surrounding islands. And my favorite were the Asian castings and Pacific. But when they showed him, I was like, oh yeah, I'm a little confused on that. And then they explained the change, and you watch it, and you're like, that I like that.
yeah, I was nervous to say the least. And it's not so much that I'm on the go woke, go broke train, because I think that with most arguments that are on the internet, there's some validity, at least the ones that have a giant stir behind them. And there's a lot of that talk with the MCU right now. I mean, almost, about half the videos you see popping up about Disney or Marvel or anything like that, it's like, it's all go woke, go broke. I don't necessarily agree with all of that. There's been some swapping. My thing with Namor was we get too far from source material, and then you've got all these fans, people like me who've been into the Marvel comics since about 1993, you know 30 30 years of comics that I've been following and reading. And then basically by retconning it to death, my fear was that I've been waiting for a character to show up, and then we get a character that's the character but not really. How they pulled this off in Wakanda Forever was incredible. And that's how it should be done. If you're going to switch something up and you're going to change things up, for the sake of story, then make the story rich, make the story good, and present it well. And they did such a beautiful job of that. And it took you out of the feeling of it being retconned.
Hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. Like I was scared when they announced it, and I was like, okay, yeah. And then you see it, and you're like, yeah, that's the way to do it. Like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, like that was beautiful, beautiful storytelling.
Well, to be fair, this was the end of Phase 4, though, and you can see why fans are nervous when
Hmm.
the beginning of Phase 4 was Taskmaster being a woman. It was like, well, yeah, okay, Marvel, Disney, give us a little credit here because you have switched some things up that were absolute trash too. So
Yeah, yeah, and I wouldn't have a problem with Taskmaster being a woman. Just the storytelling for Taskmaster's changed, right? You're talking
right.
about Namor's change, beautiful change. It makes sense, but Taskmaster, you're like, what? Why would you do that? I don't understand this. Like,
Well, because people love the character Tony Masters. So
yeah, Tony Masters, I love him, dude.
such a neat character. And what's his, I can't remember off the top of my head, but what's his power? It's the
Photo,
He
like,
remembers everyone's movements. Like
they
Mhm.
can copy
to
him.
perfectly mimic anyone, anything that they do. He
Right.
boop.
Yeah, and she didn't feel like Tony Masters. Like, I think that's the thing. Is like if you're like even like with Moon Knight, right? They changed things with Moon Knight. He still felt like Moon Knight though, even though they changed things. But with her, and hopefully maybe they'll change that for the Thunderbolts when she shows up, or maybe they'll bring the real Tony Masters in. That'd be interesting.
That'd be cool.
Well, yeah, that was a good point though, is that it was not just simply that they gender swapped. They gender swapped and then turned her into an a little robot woman that had no personality or confidence or any sort of attitude. It was just dead stare. I mean, it just looked like there was nothing going on when the mask
Yeah.
came off.
Yeah, I totally agree.
with the new content and stuff in MCOC that drops. But have you? I guess I've been trying to get into CCP. I applied again recently. Kabam just loves to ignore me, but that's okay. Maybe they're listening one day. But in your CCP beta, can you play as future Ant-Man and Cassie Lang now?
Yeah, so if you've noticed, yeah, it's not me breaking by saying this, but like you'll notice that every time the update comes out and you watch CCP content now that people stream it, you'll say, hey, like future Ant-Man's in the roster, right? So you can assume that every time a new update comes out, CCP members will get those two characters. Until the embargo releases, they can't release content on those, right? Because Cassie Lang's embargo was the other day, so we can release content. But for future Ant-Man, of course, people have played it since the update, and then they'll be released with the embargo. Usually, I don't test champions. I test them a bit, for me, since I'm focused on the story. Unless I want to plan a stream, which I might, then I usually don't touch them, or at least I'll, with the Hulk buff or Spider-Man buff, I might touch them.
How did you feel like fighting against them?
Cassie was pretty interesting. She seemed fine. Future Ant-Man was kind of a pain. I mean, I fought a Cavalier. I haven't done Thronebreaker yet, so I assume they're obviously going to be super ramped up for those. But yeah, Ant-Man was kind of annoying. I almost wiped my whole team fighting him because you need an XL champion and an XL. So I was using Juggernaut and Venom Pool. So yeah, fighting them as defenders, it makes sense. It makes sense. I'm fine with that.
You have Red Mags.
Mm-hmm.
Throw him
I was
in
gonna
there.
bring him in.
Yeah, because actually for both, for Cassie Lang and for future Ant-Man, you just parry heavy with Red Max, throw that SP3 and they're done.
Yeah.
And with the future Ant-Man specifically, he gives you like this little passive debuff where if you run willpower, it's just enough to keep you healing the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Then same thing, you fire off your SP3, they melt. But I like to challenge myself. The cheese mode isn't always extremely fun. So like for the OG Ant-Man in 2.2, which is the one I was texting LJ about yesterday. I don't know if mine was just bugged or something, but it was driving me nuts. I couldn't get a clean solo. I finally got one, and it was my last run through, and I got a clean solo with Kingpin. I've been trying to find champs to do that with Cassie Lang and future Ant-Man. Experiment a little bit, see good counters, because you could red mags everything, but it kind of takes the fun out of it a little bit. And I like to make stupid little videos and post them on Instagram and Twitter and stuff too. So it's fun to experiment, I guess. I was gonna say explore, but experiment would be more accurate.
Yeah, and you say cheese. I actually use Hercules against Cassie Lang.
Nice.
So, yeah, that was fun. But yeah, so I didn't want to bring Red Max for future Ant-Man. I wanted to play for the node because I usually do the easy option of using Red Max.
Yeah, breeze through it.
For all of the champs that were pretty certain on your list that are coming, who are you most excited for right now?
Oh, well, March just for Viv Vision tying to Marvel Realm of Champions. I really like that. Sandman with Kabam Gabe on our podcast was talking about Sandman, and it's been almost 2 years since that podcast, so I would love to see Sandman finally get his shine. Adam Warlock, everyone's probably most wanted champion of all time, collectively across the entire community. And as an X-Men fan, Forge, same with Silver Samurai, and then the new Kabam Original Guillotine, because we haven't had a Kabam Original since Gallon, who is another variant of Galactus. So I think those are my most excited picks.
If they do Silver Samurai well, he'll be one of mine. But I think definitely for me, Adam Warlock is probably everything that was on your list that I'm most looking for. But who there? So you've got a couple guys that you do the predictions with. I saw on Twitter, and on that month that you had Forge and Shatterstar, and the other guy agreed with you. But then, and what are their names? You're gonna have to help me. I can't remember.
So it's Mr. King, who's my absolute buddy in the community. He does the same content, but for the Portuguese community. So he lives in Portugal and he does the same content I do, and actually any other content. He probably makes the most videos out of any other content creator I know. Like probably like 10 videos a day sometimes. I'm like, how do you do that? So yeah, Mr. King, Frank Paladin, who's in my alliance, another person who reads the lore, and then Bowtie Man or Bowtie John. He was
Right.
someone I met on the forums who did the same kind of thing, but only for theory crafting on the forums. And he reached out to me, and we started doing some collaboration and talking about it. They have their predictions on, and I can bring that on my screen real quick. But yeah, most of them said we all agreed on Shatterstar, just because you have that Mojoverse spot on the State of the Battle Realm map. Mojoverse, it's got to be Shatterstar or Spiral. Dazzler lost the Summoner's Choice underdog vote, so she is not eligible to join this year. So it's definitely one of those two. Kabam Mike has said several times over the years that Shatterstar has had this rigging problem with her 6 arms. Whether that means
Spiral.
yeah, Spiral.
Yeah.
Spiral has the 6 arms and they're rigging improperly or something. So probably not her, just because with Mystique, right? Same thing, little different, well, differently, but same problem is that they can't do her model change. So they said they've had these issues for years, but they haven't tackled them yet. They want to, so I think that she's just on the back burner. Shatterstar, they showed the New Mutants picture, which is weird. So he was on the New Mutants and the X Force, and Forge was on the X Force as well, but only on a specific team with Cable. Havoc was a part of that story, and Havoc and Cable are both in the X Force for some reason on the State of the Battle map, so that story went to my head. And Shatterstar, maybe someone said that he was pansexual, and obviously Pride Month is that month, so that could be an interesting tie-in. We saw last year that they did a really beautiful tie-in that month, so maybe that'll be a continued thing where they bring in people of different sexualities.
I'm glad they did, man, because Wiccan is my favorite character.
Yeah, they were my predictions for years, and I was like they are coming to the game. I don't know when, they just happened to be in June, and then everyone's like, it's Pride Month, and I was like, oh, I didn't even realize, and then it's like that's so cool to tie that in.
I don't want to go down a negative rabbit hole, but I kind of went off on the actual Marvel Contest of Champions post. I remember that specifically, and I remember reminding people. I remember reminding people that Stan Lee's entire idea was, when he came out with Spider-Man, the reason that he loved Spider-Man so much was because there was all these characters that had come out in DC and Marvel where you could see their faces and stuff like that. You had Superman, and Superman was a big strapping white guy, and whatever. But the thing with Spider-Man was that being completely covered as a superhero, there was always this feeling that anybody could be Spider-Man. And that was part of what Stan Lee loved most about that character, was that he gave the community, the comic community, every little boy and girl, everybody in the world, a chance to feel a part of and feel included. And so it was that reaction was just, it was sad, and it was kind of embarrassing as a member of the community. It was just, there's just no place for hate like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't understand how you can say like Stan, like it's what they're saying. They're like, oh, this is such disrespect to Stanley. Stanley would never want this. I'm like, dude, he wanted an inclusive universe of characters where we can all relate to and all feel like we're represented perfectly. And yeah, and kind of like you said, Spider-Man's favorite character of mine since a kid. Like I wanted to be Spider-Man. I dressed up as Spider-Man. Symbiont Spider-Man was my favorite, so I wore that black suit. That's the same thing. Like people can relate to Wiccan. They're a married couple and they're badasses, and so I'm very glad to join the game, and I'm very glad they're continuing. I think they joined Nova's team on the story, so they're just characters that I don't think you should be upset about. I don't understand people's hate for. I always have an empathy for others, like always relate to others, even if we're not the same. I love everyone, and I'm not gonna be mad at someone or be mad at this. It's just stupid, and it was funny seeing Kabam like destroy them.
Yeah.
That was my funny, like Mike going off against homophobes. It was pretty hilarious.
Yeah, well, he left that pinned on his Twitter. I think it's still pinned on his Twitter. Last I saw,
cool.
that post was that long ago, and it's still pinned at the top of his Twitter. So good for Kabam Mike, Kabam Mike,
Yeah.
however you want to say it. But hey, and just really quick while we're on that topic, it's really easy to crap on Mike.
Yeah.
God knows I think everyone in the community has had their time. And I'm not saying Mike hasn't had some posts that were objectionable at best. He's definitely. Here's my thing, and I'm just throwing this out there, almost like a public service announcement to the community. But if you got a lot of hate for Mike, you probably follow him on Twitter. Give that a try, because who he is on Twitter and who he had to be in the forums, or who he felt like he had to be, it feels very different. I saw forum posts of his and things that were retweeted by, or basically brought up by content creators for literally years before I ever followed the dude on Twitter. And in Twitter, I get to see a lot more of his just general interactions with people, and you get better feel of the fact that he's a pretty good dude.
Yeah, absolutely. I was never on the forums. It was just like, where's the man bringing up forum post or whatnot. So yeah, I've only interacted with him on Twitter or through Discord with the CCP and talking to him. And yeah, he's a good dude. And with community manager and Jax being another community manager, they get so much hate. A lot of it is unneeded. Like I don't know why people are just angry at the game. They love the game, I get it, but you don't need to hate every single thing wrong with the game. And yeah, and Mike does a lot of cool stuff on Twitter. He definitely has genuine posts. I just remember that Gabe, the former director, he also said like, the game is full of multiversal variants, right? So you've probably punched like a gay Deadpool or a gay Daredevil. Like it doesn't like it's probably happened. Like it's so stupid to be upset about it. Pretty funny.
Yeah, well, I think when people get outraged with the game, it's pretty easy to see who's read the comics and who hasn't.
Yeah.
Because this isn't new, guys. This is not news. This isn't something that they just I love when they get mad at Kabam over stuff like that. It's like, yeah, well, you clearly haven't read the comics, because this is who they've always been.
Oh yeah, I've had to respond to so many people like, "Oh my God, Spider-Man Supreme, a New Kabam original. Why could they do this to Spider-Man?" I was like, "Dude, you know that's from the comics, right? Like,
Yeah,
you can't complain about something if you're not educated." That's my
yeah.
like.
Sadly, that's pretty prevalent.
Yeah, I try my best with my content to educate people. That's no, most people don't read the story, so that's my content. And I try to bring comics into it, like Future Ant-Man. He's got 4 comics, right? I saw some people being upset about it. They're like, "Oh, this is a terrible translation to the game." I was like, "Dude, did you read the same 4 comics? Like, it takes less than 10 minutes. How can you be upset?" But yeah, it is what it is.
Weren't those Gabriel Frazera comics?
They weren't.
Or
They were Al Ewings who wrote the original, or not the original, but the 2015 Comics Champions comic books. Him and Gabriel Frazera collaborated on those comics.
Okay. Yeah, because maybe you can, after the show, you can send me some links, because I haven't really been able to find those.
I'll send it to you after this. But for
Yeah,
anyone who's wondering what they are, it's basically it's Ant-Man number 1 through 4. 4 is his Future Ant-Man's origin story. And the cool fight at the end of it, which gets mentioned in the actual event quest this month. Like there's a lot of love for that comic, so I'm pretty excited. So yeah, just look up Ant-Man. It's a mini series, Ant-Man 1 through 4. I don't know what volume it is. I'd have to look that up.
Do you have any questions left, KB?
Oh, I didn't really have any. Well, I did have one more question.
He's just going off the top. He's like, I don't.
Did have one more question, and then I had one more comment that I wanted to make. An apology to Johnny on the spot, because maybe in episode 1, or maybe when we did the first show with you guys, JX, I all over Spot. I was like, what a terrible character. What a fantastic character now that I have him.
Yeah.
So Spot, I'm sorry, bro. My bad. I'll own it. But then, yeah. And then just my last question to you, JX, was with seeing Tournament of Showdowns, like Zemo was in there forever. He kept losing. Now he's in the game. Probably Bullseye, I mentioned was my pick last week with Rob. I think he'll get put into the game regardless. But who have you seen that's been popping up in the Summoner Showdown that you think will just be added to the game regardless?
Okay. Oh, it's Summoner's Choice. Summer Showdown's the event.
Oh yeah,
Really.
yeah. Sorry, yeah, Summoner's
All
Choice.
good. Beater A Bill is. I want it. Like, come on. Like XN. His favorite character is Beater A Bill. Mine's Legion. Have them the same month. That'd be a fan. That'd be a love to us. That'd be cool.
That'd be cool.
What Could Band Mike said is like the people not in the underdog vote may come to the game or plans, and he said may, which obviously Zemo was not in the underdog vote. He came regardless. Agatha probably is coming. Beta Ray Bill, I don't see how he's not coming. Probably not this year, but next year. And we have 2 Spider-Man villains coming this year, so Morbius and Hobgoblin could be it, but I'm not betting on them. Ironheart, she didn't come with her MCU debut, so she's probably not going to come with her show, just because we've seen with Sam Wilson coming a year after his show. Kushala, probably not either, even though I want her. Being the Sorcerer Supreme with the being Ghost Rider and the symbiote, like the Sorcerer Supreme is pretty damn cool. And Crystal would just be so cool. I really want Crystal and Beater and Bill out of all of those that didn't show up in the underdog vote. There's lots of cool characters. I wish they have them planned out instead of the underdog vote. I would have wished everyone was planned, but Beater and Bill and Crystal are like my top 2 out of anyone from the underdog vote. Or not in the underdog vote.
So I've got a little list that I've been building, and obviously everybody knows, if you follow me on any social media, know me in real life, or you're in the Alliance, you know that the one person I want in game more than anyone is Vulcan. And over the years, Vulcan has started to show back up a little bit. Rob just actually dropped a video involving Vulcan. But there are a couple other characters that never get really mentioned much. Phantom X, I think, is he's like one of my favorite anti-heroes. He's like right up there with Deadpool. If you guys don't know about Phantom X, look him up. But Maverick is another one that I think they've never really done him justice, and they've never, to be fair, they did give him a couple runs and they didn't do well long time ago, but there's also some more deep cut characters. Exodus, I think, is just an insane character, Omega level mutant, and if I started reading off his abilities, we would be here for another half an hour. But also, Sincere he was a cyborg that went up against Cable, and I always thought he was one of the coolest characters. Do you have any deep cut characters that you would like to see in game that people wouldn't even know who they are?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, I mean, besides Legion, it's not really deep cut, but for the most part, like, I've had to explain who Legion is, the son of Professor X. Marvel said he's the most powerful mutant, just saying. So sorry, Vulcan. Just saying, yeah. Yeah, he's always my number 1. I mean, there's plenty of characters, like you mentioned, like Exodus would be really cool. He's been a staple right now in Krakoa. I want characters who are so unique, like Darwin. Like, would probably be the most defensive character possible, but for someone who his whole mutant ability is it's survival. Like, no matter what, the Hulk coming at him. All right, I'm teleporting away. Right. You're coming straight at me. Okay, I'll turn into the hardest material known to anyone, and you can't do any damage. So he'd be pretty sweet. It's hard to think of like characters that would fully translate to the game. I think Exodus is, like you mentioned, he'd be really cool. Legion with now 1,000,000 powers would be quite one of the hardest characters to put in the game. But
I'd like to see Cannonball.
Yeah, Cannonball would be cool.
Cannonball would be fun. Just the animations team could have so much fun with Cannonball. Just have him explode across the screen.
Absolutely. Yeah, he was in the New Mutants photo that they showed for June, which I don't think they're gonna plan him out, but he would be cool. Yeah, for as bad as the New Mutants movie was, he visually seeing him was pretty cool in his powers. I liked that.
Danny Moonstar would be another one that would be from the New Mutants that would be so fun to have in the game. Because I don't think people really got a full understanding from that movie
Yeah,
how crazy powerful she is.
yeah, absolutely. She wasn't in the underdog vote, but she was in the second summoner's choice, Mirage. She would be cool, and with her like kind of like a mind illusion kind of things, but also psionic, but also bringing out your worst fear. I mean, how they would do that in game would be pretty interesting. Like, imagine any character you go against, and they tied that to Marvel lore. It's an evil, like it's an evil this or an evil that would be pretty sweet.
That kind of thing does make me a little nervous though, because that's a lot of ground to cover in a 3-minute fight
Yeah.
with 240 other opponents that you can go up against. I mean, we saw with Absorbing Man is the most recent. You know, he doesn't turn to ice. He doesn't turn to metal. There's a lot of people that he goes up against that he doesn't really absorb anything. Were you a little disappointed with that?
Oh, I was kind of for someone who predicted him last year. Well, what was it? Oh yeah, it was you fight someone and you absorb that metal and you can use it later fights down the road. Was kind of what everyone was thinking. Is what I think Egatron he made a fan kit of it. That's what I really liked from his fan kit. I'm okay with how he turned out. He turned out pretty cool, so I'm not disappointed at all. But turns to ISO 8, which I did not see. Like him, the SP3 animation, I never thought about him turning into ISO 8, which is such a cool thing to in a love for the game to do ISO 8. So I'm happy with that, just how he turned out.
Okay, please hold that thought.
The featured.
I told you guys you're gonna give me good luck, and we're gonna open this featured crystal. So while we're talking about Absorbing Man,
Let's
keep
do
building
it.
him up. I need
Absorbing Man, Crusher Krill. Crusher
all the
Krill.
good mojo, baby. Should I pop it or spin it?
Spin it.
Spin it,
Spin
yeah.
it. Do the old LJ method.
Yeah, do the LJ method.
Okay. So LJ, he created this method. You wait for the crystal to go dark, and that's when you would release it. So let's see what happens. I'm gonna click it when it goes dark, and let's see. My hands are sweating right now. I don't know why I make such a big deal out of this, but all right. Tuma.
Yeah.
Uma.
Couldn't even see. I was trying to see my phone through the screen.
So the
Oh, you know
LJ
what?
method
Actually, I'm not
worked.
mad about that. I got it featured.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So
I think
embarrassing,
it's
dude.
almost mad.
I literally just started sweating, getting nervous. I'm like, come on, Doom baby. Come on, Absorbing Man.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tuma, he'll be good for defense. Thanks. I blame you guys for that. That was good. Thank you.
All the Wakanda Forever love we gave. That's what
Yeah.
happened. It manifested.
Yeah. Excited. All right.
Well, JX, we really could pick your brain for the rest of the day, but KB's got a 2-year-old and I got 2 sick kids, so we should probably get back to our cheerings. But
All right.
but we'll have you on again, man, because we could talk to you all day. So we got plenty more to ask you as we go down the road.
Thank you.
Just working man in MCOC.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
Jay
Stradamus.
Yeah.
All
Thank you
right.
so much, man. Yeah, this was a pleasure. I love your optimism and everything. Like you're such a positive dude, and like you it's kind of one of the things I really enjoyed about talking with Rob is like he would get excited about things, and we could see, you could probably hear it in the show.
Yeah.
And you get so excited, and it's really cool to see somebody who's passionate about what they're doing, and thank you
Absolutely.
for
Yeah,
stopping
man.
by, bro.
I'm so happy to be invited. And I was like, I'm doing this. And yeah, I'm happy. This is a great show. Thank you for inviting me.
Before we take off, really quick, actually, if somebody is new to JX, what is the one video that you would suggest that they watch? And as far as XN interviews, because that's the other thing that you guys do, what is if somebody's only going to give you one chance and they can only listen to one XN interview? I was about to take us out, and I just remembered that I forgot to ask this. What is the one XN interview that you think that they should start with?
So for actual video, probably just my pinned video or the YouTube trailer for the roadmap. that pretty much has what I predicted. I feel like you get the best out of me. Like, what do I do? This is what I do. I predict the future of the game. For Bex X and interviews, we have what, like 84, 83 videos for 2 years of podcasting. Oh goodness. Man, I don't even know which one. They're all
Now let's
great.
be clear. I don't want anyone to get hurt feelings. He's not saying that this was the best guest or this,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So I'm just saying if anybody should start with any one video.
Mm, Action interviews the raft.
No, don't do that. Don't do.
I know.
I'll pull the Lakeith Stanfield. Don't do that, brother.
Yeah.
Those in my
Um,
AirPods, dude. I'm so sorry that I made you guys listen to me that way. That was horrible.
No, you're good. Ah, man, I don't know. I feel like a recent one. I'd probably say the Kabam Jackson interview. I had a really fun time with that interview, and I feel like you kind of get the best love of what our show's about, interviewing people, getting how we interview with Kabam, how you kind of get info that way, what it's about, what our channel's about, what our YouTube's about, and kind of how we work. I think it's around 2 hours, so you get a really good amount. Like it's not on the shorter end of 1 hour. It's a full 2 hours, so I think that's a good one to really get people in the show.
Yeah. You guys have had so many great interviews. I think when I really, really started listening to you guys was after you interviewed Gabriel Frazera.
Yeah.
That was it blew my mind that somebody who was a part of our community had access to Gabe like that. It was just
Yeah.
such a neat thing.
I sent him a message and he was like, "Yeah, I'll come on." And I was like, "Do you want me to send you questions?" He's like, "No, we're doing it live. Let's do this." The only fun we can do it live was that way. He was just like, "Bring it to me, rapid questions," and that was fun.
Yeah.
I didn't bring up that one because we had audio issues, so that's why I don't want to bring that one up because it had so much audio issues. The sound was off, but that's a great one if you have not seen it.
Yeah. All right, so I'll try this outro one more time, and I'm just going to edit out the other one. So, Jay, thank you so much for your time, brother. We're so happy to have you on, and we will have JX back again. If you haven't liked and subscribed to our channel, please do that. It doesn't matter much to you guys. It matters a lot to us. It does make a big difference. As well with JX, if you go down to the more info below this video's picture, the thumbnail, you're going to see a little description. Under that description, you're going to see links to all of JX's stuff, his social media, his YouTube, and go check out XN interviews with him and XN. So thank you so much, Jay.
Yeah, man, you're welcome.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Yeah.
Peace.
Do the Rob outro. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.